Hey guys, welcome back. It's me, Sahil Mahajan. So in today's video, we're going to be discussing about how can you optimize performance in S3. So let's dive right into the video. So we have something that is called S3 prefixes. So I'm sure you guys know that S3 bucket operates just like any other folder or directory wherein you can create multiple folders inside folders and you or multiple directories. Now, for example, what is a prefix? This folder or this directory is basically called a prefix. So let's take, we have a bucket. So this is our main bucket, the S3 bucket. Inside our S3 bucket, we created a folder called my folder. And inside that folder, we are storing an object that is called picture.img. Now, picture.img is basically our object, and my folder is the name of the folder or the directory, or we can call my folder as the prefix. So, any folder or directory that you create is basically called a prefix in S3. You can create multiple prefixes. For example, I can create my folder, then I can create another folder under my folder, which is basically, let's take it as new folder. And after that, in that specified folder or directory, I can store my object that is called picture.png. So you can see we have two folders over here. One is my folder, and then we have a new folder. So my folder would be a prefix, and new folder would also be a prefix. So that is basically what prefixes are in S3. Now let's talk about S3 performance. Now I wanted you guys to understand what is a prefix because everything is quite related to prefix when it comes to S3 performance. So you can have 3,500 put or copy or post or delete requests per prefix. Okay, so 3,500 is a huge number. So you can have any of these requests, 3,500 of these requests per second per prefix. Now let's look at the get slash head. In get slash head, you can make 5,500 get or head requests per prefix per second. So which basically means more the prefixes, more better performance that you are going to have. For example, if we have two prefixes, the result is that we can achieve speeds of 11,000 get requests per second. And now what is an example of having two prefix? Is basically my folder 1 is your first prefix, my folder 2 is your prefix number 2, and then your object that is stored, which basically means now instead of having a normal 5,500 request per second, now we can achieve 11,000 get requests per second. So that's a double value. So imagine if we have four prefixes over here, we can basically achieve a speed of 22,000 get requests or head requests per uh, second. So look at how the performance has increased when we keep adding prefixes. Now let's move on. Now, of course, with this high level of speed or performance, we do have limitations, and that limitations comes with the security standpoint. That is, we have limitations with our KMS, that is our key management service. Now, again, if you are using the SSE S3, which is basically the S3 managed keys, you will not be facing any limits at all. You don't need to worry. But if you are using the KMS service that AWS does provide, then you will be having some limits. So if you are using SSE KMS, you must keep within the specified limit. Now, when we talk about these limits are actually specific to each region. So each region will have their own specific limit. Again, if you guys are working for US East 1 or any US West 1 or maybe down in Australia, you guys can Google up or look at the Amazon documentation on what the limit is. But in general, the limits can either be 5,500, 10,000 or 30,000 requests per second. So now let's take an example. Now I told you guys in the previous example, the more the prefixes that you have, the better performance that you have. So now let's take, we have four prefixes, okay? We have four prefixes, which basically means we can achieve a speed of 22,000 get requests per second. Now let's take, we have deployed our object in US East 1. Now let's take US East 1 has a limit of 10,000 calls to SSE KMS per second. So basically, even though we have four prefixes that allow us to get 22,000, that allow us to make 22,000 requests per second, this will again be limited by KMS because KMS only allows a max of 10,000 requests per second. Now, moving on, we're going to be talking about multi-part uploads. Now, whatever we spoke right now is basically fetching objects from S3. Now, let's talk about multi-part upload. So, multi-part upload basically means uploading an object in multiple different parts. Now, this is recommended for files that are over 100 GB, wherein you do parallel uploads, which basically increases efficiency for you. Now, what do we mean by multi-part upload or parallel upload? Basically, your 100 GB file will be broken down into chunks for a faster upload. So now we may break down this 100 GB file into five chunks of 20 GB each, or we may break this down into even more chunks, that is maybe 10 chunks. If we break it down into 10 chunks, that would be 10 GB each. Now uploading a file or a part of a file worth 10 GB is way faster than uploading a whole 100 GB file. So that is basically the concept of multi-part uploads. And another good thing about multi-part uploads is that if a specific a part, like for example, we are splitting into five parts. Now part one has been uploaded successfully, part two has been uploaded successfully. Now there's some issue with part three. Then what's going to happen is we are only going to retry part three, and we do not need to re-upload the whole file. So you see, that saves us time. We only need to re-upload part two, which is just a 20 GB part instead of the whole 100 GB. So that's another good advantage of multi-part uploads. Now coming on, we have something that is called S3 byte range fetch. This basically is where you can do parallel downloads by specifying byte ranges. So you can specify specific byte ranges wherein those byte ranges are downloaded. Now, if a download is failed, it only fails for that specific byte range, and you only need to retry that specific byte range, and again, not the whole range altogether. This can basically be used to speed up downloads, and it increases efficiency. So that's about it for how you guys can optimize performance in an S3 bucket. So I hope you guys did like this video. If you did, please make sure to leave a like, do subscribe, do comment if there are any other topics that you guys would like me to cover. I hope you guys have a great day ahead. See ya. Take care. Bye bye.